Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome to something that's probably a bit of a tradition now, seeing as I've been doing this for a few years, where I take a look at the new Airfix range. So join me in this quick video as I share my thoughts on the new range for 2025. So first things up, all information is believed to be correct at the time of release. However, things may change without notice, and also I am only human, I'm only one person, and sometimes some typos or little bits of information is a little bit wrong. So do make sure you check the official sources on the official Airfix website. So without any further ado, let's take a look at what's new. I'm not going to hang around and make you wait to the end. Let's look at the new toolings. So the new releases this year, and I can already hear some people moaning, we have a Spitfire. So this is a Spitfire Mark 9E. This is a brand new tooling in 1/48 scale and is supposedly retailing for just shy of £30. Featuring 124 parts, we can expect to see this in 2025, and it should make an interesting addition because I don't believe they've had a Mark 9E in the 1/48 scale range. This does indicate that it's going to have 3 different paint schemes to pick from, so you're getting a reasonable amount of choice there. I know people don't always like to see Spitfires from Airfix, but let's be honest, they are one of the most popular aircraft and they pay the bills. If models like this end up making lots of profit for Airfix, they can reinvest that into more obscure subjects later on. And let's face it, at the end of the day, if you don't like Spitfires, you don't have to buy them. So next, we're going to continue the theme, and there is another Spitfire, but this time a TR9. An aircraft that a lot of people didn't think that they would do, seeing as it is quite a niche subject. But in this particular case, we have 2 decal schemes, and again it's in 1/48 scale. This one could be tempting, as I've never done a 2-seater Spitfire before, and it would be interesting to see it on the shelf. But I have made a little bit of a promise to myself not to pre-order anything this year, as I did last year, and then things just kept turning up and I ran out of time. So this year, I'm going to wait and see. Another new tooling this year is a Westland Wessex in 1/72 scale. This is going to have 3 paint schemes and 134 parts, so it's not going to be lacking in detail by the sounds of it. Not exactly a cheap 1/72 scale kit coming in at £24.99. This is no doubt reflected in the fact that it has 3 paint schemes and is a brand new tooling. Personally, I'm not so sure I'm into helicopters, but never say never. For those of you who like vehicles, there is also going to be an Alvis FV622 Stalwart Mark II in 1/35 scale. This is featuring 211 parts and coming in at £39.99. Again, apparently there's going to be 3 schemes with this kit. Whilst probably perfect for a diorama, I'm not sure that this one tickles my fancy. However, something that a lot of people have been asking for, and potentially where all that money from Spitfires goes, is into development of something like this. The Sepacat Jaguar GR1 or GR1A in 1/48 scale. So a brand new tooling in 1/48 scale of a Jaguar, something that a lot of people have been asking for. This isn't going to be a pocket money kit, and that's reflected in the price, but it does feature 243 parts and 4 paint schemes. As Airfix have been pushing their boundaries with their finesse and level of detail in their moulded parts, I'm sure that this one will be a fantastic kit, and is something I could consider featuring on my workbench, but we'll have to wait and see. There is one more new release this year, and for those of you who love a little bit of space, we've got an SLS Artemis gift set. So gift sets generally feature paints, cement and some brushes. However, if I was going to get this one, I'm not sure I would be using the included paint because it seems like it would be quite a challenge. I'd probably be getting some rattle cans to finish this one. Again, this is not a pocket money kit retailing for £49.99. It is, however, in 1/44 scale, so I imagine it'll be pretty big when complete. If you want this one, it should be out around the middle of the year. And that's it for brand new toolings. Let's now continue the theme of gift sets and take a look at the gift sets that are being released this year. So everything from this point on is not a new tooling, it is a re-release of some kind. So first up is a space shuttle. The space shuttle was originally tooled in the Airfix range in 1978, but I have been informed that they have fixed some different parts and retooled some elements of it in the last 20 years or so. So it's not a completely old tooling, which is probably why we don't see it as a vintage classic. This is not a pocket money kit either, retailing for $49.99, but as it's a gift set you do get a good selection of paints and things. Again, however, I'll probably be looking at using a rattle cans, if I was interested in getting this one onto my workbench. I'm not entirely sure at the moment, but it would be a different subject to feature on my channel rather than what I normally build. Again, this one can be seen towards the end of the year. It is worth noting that this one supposedly comes with 7 schemes, which I would presume is one for each of the different shuttles. The last gift set that Airfix are releasing this year is the Battle of Britain gift set, which commemorates one of the anniversaries. This one features 4 aircraft kits: the BF-109, a Spitfire Mark I, a Hawker Hurricane, and a Heinkel HE-111. Apparently there is also a display stand included. You are getting 4 kits inside this box, and whilst they do vary in their tooling ages, nothing here I believe is older than about 2010. And seeing as there's a good selection of paint inside the box as well, this might be a cost-effective way of getting your hands on all of these kits in one go. Personally, I've already built the Hurricane, Spitfire and BF-109, so this won't be on my wish list this year. Now let's move into the normal classic kits which have been re-released. So first up we've got the Fokker Eindecker, a World War I monoplane. I actually have one of these in the stash and it looks like a pretty good kit. This is tooled from 2016 and features 35 parts. As this is one of the lower end kits, it only features one decal scheme. I really do need to get mine out of the stash and have a go at building it. Keeping with the World War I thing, we've also got a Royal Aircraft Factory BE-2C. This one is a little more expensive as it features a few more parts than the Eindecker we just looked at. This one was tooled in 2016 and comes with 2 paint schemes. I'm not a big fan of World War I biplanes, so I'll probably be skipping this one. It's all that rigging puts me off. Up next we've got a Hawker Hurricane in 1/72 scale, this time in an earlier paint scheme with a 2-bladed prop. I do have a previous release of this kit with a 2-bladed prop, and I think that I might be tempted to get this one as it comes with a different decal scheme. I think it would be nice to have both of these early Hawker Hurricanes next to each other. Up next we've got a Focke-Wulf FW190 A8/F8, and I think Airfix must have watched my unboxing video on one of these kits not long ago, where I said that it was a little bit dull and didn't have an exciting paint scheme. Well, it seems now they may have listened to me, because here we've got a slightly more interesting paint scheme with some yellow tail and nose. There is going to be a second paint scheme included in the box as well. The A8 and F8 I believe comes with additional parts for bombs, as this could have been used as an attacker, and I think that may be reflected in the fact that it contains 74 parts. This is one of the slightly older new Airfix toolings, but it's still fairly decent. But given that I still have an FW190 to build, I'm not sure that this one will be on my wish list either. The Heinkel HE111H6 is coming back this year, I believe in new paint schemes. This one is a little more expensive as it's a twin-engine bomber, coming in at $39.99. Not a particularly old tooling, but it is a decade old now, and you can expect to see this one towards the end of the year. Sticking with the bombers theme, we add a couple of engines and move on to the Boeing B-17G/Fortress Mark III. So I presume there's going to be a United States Army Air Force variant and an RAF version included in the box, because there are 2 schemes. This one is a little more expensive at £41.99 and is a relatively new tooling from 2016. I have heard that this one has a good level of detail and is reflected in the fact that it has 264 parts. If you want to get your hands on this one, apparently they shouldn't be too far away and may be available in the next few months. Another 4-engine bomber is the 2024, so last year's tooling of the consolidated B-24D Liberator, but this time in new paint schemes. This one retails for $49.99 and I have heard very good things about it, given the level of detail and the way that the parts fit together. If I was tempted to get this one, I'd probably have to clear out some of my stash to make some space. But I think something that may be a little bit bigger is a re-release of the Hanley Page Victor. This one is also in 1/72nd scale and again dates from 2016. This seems to be a pretty large kit, which I probably don't have space for, but I guess we'll have to watch this space. Here we've got a re-release of the Bristol Blenheim Mark 1F, so this is a kind of night fighter variant with machine guns mounted underneath the aircraft. I could actually be tempted by this one given how interesting it looks. This is a re-release of a previous scheme, but it does come with 2 decal schemes included in the box. It is a 2014 tooling, so a little bit older, but I have heard good things about it. Again, not long to wait if you want to get your hands on this. Another 1/72nd scale kit, we've got the Messerschmitt ME410A1, and I've actually built one of these in the original boxing from 2023, and I was very impressed with it. This one retails for $24.99 and features 149 parts, and I could be tempted to build this one as it does come with 2 new decal schemes and new parts including bombs. However, I am aware that the Airfix Club is going to have one of these ME410s in different paint schemes included in that particular boxing, so I may hold off and get that one instead. We move on to the Bolton Pool Defiant NF1, another re-release which was originally tooled in 2016. This one features 2 schemes and 113 parts, retailing for $29.99. This one should be seen towards the sort of end of the year, and I could be tempted by this one as I have built the smaller scale 1/72nd kit, and I found that one to be pretty good. So perhaps the 1/48th, which is the bigger brother, might be even better, but again, we will have to watch this space. Moving on, we have another Spitfire, this time an early Spitfire with a 2-bladed prop. This does come with 3 paint scheme options, but I am pretty sure that this dates from 2007 tooling wise. I may be wrong, but that was the information that I could dig up about it. I already have a 1/48 scale Spitfire from Airfix in my stash, so I'm not sure I would be keen to add this one until that one has been moved on. So we're going to stick with the Spitfire theme for a little while, and we have another one. This is a Spitfire PR19. This one was originally tooled back in 2013 and features 3 paint schemes. The thing quite interesting about this one is that you can see in the box artwork there, it's in a dogfight with a English Electric Lightning. I believe they sort of practiced with them for a certain conflict they may have had to enter. For now though, I probably will hold off on getting this one. We're going to move on to a jet trainer now, which is the Fulham Nat T1. I have heard good things about this one, another 1/48 scale kit which features 2 paint schemes. I know that the 1/72nd scale version has been around in this paint scheme as well, and I have actually built a number of these in 1/72nd scale, but 1/48 has not yet made its way across the workbench. I'm not so sure I'd be keen to get one of these yet, but maybe in the future. So moving on to something that I'm not sure was actually in the video when Airfix did their range announcement, but it was on their website. So this is another Mustang, which is going to feature 2 paint schemes. This is a 27 tooling and in 1/48 scale. I do have enough Mustangs in my stash already, so this one won't be making it onto my workbench either. I could be tempted in this one though, which is the Fairy Gannet COD or COD 4, and I have heard great things about this 2023 tooling. I am led to believe that this one will feature new parts for this particular variant, and it does come with 3 paint schemes. Seeing as it retails for $59.99 though, I may have to save up before I consider adding this one into my stash. And that's it for the re-releases of aircraft, so now we're going to move on to vehicles. So up first we've got 1/76 scale long wheelbase Land Rover hardtop and trailer. I am led to believe that this is maybe a JB Models tooling which actually dates from 1991, so it's not technically an Airfix vintage classic because it was acquired by Airfix in the mid-2000s, so around 2008, so it doesn't quite fall into the vintage classic sort of range. I have heard that they were relatively good kits for their age, and I'm sure those of you who enjoy double O gauge scale model railways, this will be a welcome return. Sticking with the 1/76 scale theme, we also have a British 105mm light field gun. This again I believe is a JB Models tooling from around 2002, which again was acquired by Airfix around 2008. So again, maybe it could be a vintage classic, but it isn't technically an Airfix vintage classic kit. Again in the slightly odd 1/76 scale, but perfect for double O gauge modelers. These 2 kits would probably go quite well together if you were looking at doing a diorama. And speaking of dioramas, another kit that might be nice to go with it, and if we stick with this theme, is a British Army 4-ton 4x4 GS truck. Once again, I believe this is a JB Models tooling from 1996 this time, but again, acquired by Airfix in the mid-2000s. This one supposedly is going to feature 3 paint schemes, and as these aren't particularly expensive kits, they could be suitable for a beginner to have a go at gluing something together and getting some paint on. This one in particular only featuring 25 parts. I've not experienced any of this particular range, so it might be interesting to get a couple just to see what they're like. And one more of these is a 176 Land Rover 1-ton FC truck GS body. Again, I believe another JB Models tooling, but this time from 1996, but again acquired by Airfix in the mid-2000s. Apparently this will feature 5 paint schemes, but as you can see it's got a very low part count of only 29 parts, but again not breaking the bank. The last 176 scale kit that we're going to look at here is a World War II 3-ton GS and troop trucks. This, I believe, is actually an Airfix tooling, which dates from 2010. This does feature, to the best of my knowledge, the 2 vehicles which are shown on the screen, which again would be a good idea if you're fancying having a go at some dioramas. And we have now got a World War II 15 CWT 4x2 GS truck. And this is retailing for $17.99 and was originally tooled in 2014. It features 95 parts and 2 paint schemes. It should be an interesting addition to anyone who's making an airfield diorama. Another 1/48 scale kit is an Albion 3-point fueler. Perfect again for those of you who are interested in doing some diorama work. Dating from 2015, it's going to be a reasonably nice model and not going to break the bank at $17.99. I could be tempted by this to do an airfield diorama. In particular, given that we have also got some World War II RAF ground crew making a reappearance, this 2015 tooling has been pretty rare and been difficult to kind of get your hands on, so it's nice to see it coming back. I know that this features a reasonable amount of figures and sort of ground equipment, so this one is something I'm definitely interested in, and I shouldn't have to wait too long if I do want to get my hands on it, seeing as it's due around the spring. Up next we go a little bit larger to 1/35. So this is the 2023 Ferret Scout car, but actually as a Mark 1. I believe they've introduced new parts to replicate that variant, as previously when it was originally tooled it was a Mark 2. I'm not entirely sure that I would fancy having a go at this one yet, but I could be tempted depending on how my other sort of vehicle builds go. We're going to take a look at some rotary wing aircraft now, and we've got the Chinook, which was originally tooled in 2024, but in different paint schemes this time. Being 1/72 scale, it's not the largest, but it is quite a large helicopter, and I have heard lots of good things about the level of detail and the fit of the parts. This one has 2 paint schemes, and you can see on the artwork there, that one has a very interesting sort of desert camouflage. I'm not sure that I could be interested yet because helicopters aren't really my thing. And the last helicopter we're going to look at is a 1/48 scale Westland Lynx, which is originally 2012 tooling and features a good number of parts. I do believe I actually have one of these in the stash to do of a much older variant. As I have that one, I probably won't be interested in this one. And that's it for the normal kits. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick look at the vintage classics. So everything here is pre-Hornby, so sort of pre-2000s sort of era, and when you go into these kits, you kind of have to anticipate that they're going to have flash, mold seams, crude level of detail, because they are a product of their time. They are annotated differently because they have the name Vintage Classics, and they will have a older style of artwork. So first up, we've got the Sopwith Pup in 1/72 scale. Not exactly breaking the bank at £6.99, but it does feature a low part count of only 26. I'm not sure I could be interested in this, as I did have a go at the Bristol F2B recently and I wasn't a fan. I think it's all that rigging. So let's swiftly move on, and we also have another helicopter, which is a Westland Puma HC1. This one is a 1973 tooling, and I have tried some kits from the 70s and they're not too bad. This one apparently comes with 2 paint schemes. Seeing as helicopters aren't really my bag though, I'm not sure I could be tempted. If you wanted your 1/48 scale Jaguar, you could also have a 1/72 scale Jaguar to go along with it. So the Sepacat Jaguar GR1 makes the reappearance here in the Vintage Classics box, and this is the 1970s tooling. I don't think this will be quite up to scratch with the brand new tooling they've announced this year, but it could still be a pretty fun build. This one might be interesting to me, but I think we'll have to see. Now it's time to move on to a twin-engined bomber, and this is the Lockheed Hudson. I was always interested in getting one of these, but I recently bought the Hampton. I had that on pre-order from last year's range announcement, and I was a little bit burnt by it. So I think I might wait for other people to get hands on theirs and have a look at it before I am tempted to get mine. Being a 1963 tooling, I'm not entirely sure it will be a particularly fun build and may require a lot of work. That being said though, I've not tried it and it could be absolutely lovely. It does however only feature one paint scheme, so if you want to have something that looks different to everybody else's, you're going to be looking at the aftermarket decal scene. So moving on, we've got a larger vintage classic, which is a Boeing 314 Clipper. Now this does look to be a very interesting aircraft. Originally tooled in 1967 and supposedly not retailing for too expensive at $21.99. Naturally, prices may change, or I may have got that wrong. It does only feature 76 parts though, which may be part of the reason. A 1967 tooling, it may have some issues. So again, I may hold off on getting one of these. It does feature two paint schemes though, or so I've been told, so it'll be interesting to see what this looks like when people are getting their hands on them. And that's it for aircraft, so what we're going to do is move on to some boats. And we have a Vosper MTB making a reappearance this year. This is the 1972 tooling, and I know that a lot of people have actually been asking for these kind of boats to make a reappearance in the range. I'm not sure I could be interested in getting my hands on this one as, well, I mean, maybe I could. Perhaps it would be great to do like a dockyard sort of diorama with a model train running past it. But I would be more interested in taking a look at the next one. And that is the RAF Rescue Launch. I remember seeing this in a book as a child, thinking it looked really interesting with those little turrets on the top. This is something that I could consider purchasing. And apparently it comes with two scheme options. Being a 1978 tooling as well, I've heard that it's not too bad and may make a fun kit to build. It will certainly be different to all the other kits that I normally build. Watch this space, I guess. And finally, that brings us on to the last kit in the Vintage Classics range, the German E-boat. And as you can see reflected in the price, this is going to be the biggest one here. Retailing for $49.99, it features 290 parts. Originally tooled in 1975, I know a lot of people have been asking for the last three boats we've just seen to be released. I imagine that something like this could be converted to remote control if you're that way inclined. But as for me at the moment, I'm not sure the E-boat is something that I would be interested in, having more of a preference to the launch we just looked at. And that, as far as I know, is that. So let's take a quick look at the summary then. We had a number of new tools which featured 4 aircraft, 2 of them Spitfires. We had one vehicle which was that sort of off-road vehicle, I forget what it was, I think it was the Stalwart. And we also had one space which was the Artemis SLS. We had a fair number of interesting aircraft re-releases this year, including 2 gift sets, 8 different kinds of vehicles. Those 176 ones may be an interesting model to get your hands on if you're interested in doing dioramas. We also had that 1/48 scale ground crew figure set, which I'm very interested in for doing an airfield scene. And then we moved on to the Vintage Classics range, and if my maths is correct, we had 5 aircraft make an appearance in that one, and 3 boats, which in total brings us to 43 products if my maths is correct, which, if I remember correctly, is the same amount of products that we had last year. But this of course does not include any surprise announcements that Airfix may make during the year. I know last year they made a few surprise new announcements. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what those might be. So what did you think of the Airfix range this year? What do you think you might be getting your hands on? Let me know down in the comments. As always, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my Model Club members for the extra support they give the channel. Massive thanks to these guys on screen, and if you'd like to join them, take a look at the links in the description to find out how. Of course, there are other ways to help support the channel if you'd like to do so, and again, full information is underneath the video. Don't take my word for it though, because if you want to find out more about the Airfix range, do take a look at Moz's stream, a good friend of the channel, where they discuss the announcement as it went live, and also the official Airfix range launch, just to make sure I've not missed anything. Of course, if you do want to see more content like this, you can support the channel for free by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench, hopefully, again, soon.